Okay, so another way that we can enhance our conditional logic is by using recursion. And recursion is essentially just a method that under certain conditions recalls itself and starts over. So it's like a digital do-over button, essentially. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let's go ahead and start ourselves a new file for this one, and we will just call this one, let's go with recur.py. And put it into our editor. Let's start with some user input. So I'm going to say choice, and we'll give you the most basic possible explanation of this. And I'm going to say that's going to be input, and we'll say, would you like to do some recursion? And we're going to make a new method. We're going to call it recursion. And we're going to set up a series of conditions here. So if choice equals y, or choice equals no. So why are we doing that? So if choice equals y, oops, I gotta do this. I gotta set up a colon on your ifs. So if choice is y, we're going to print, let's say, yay, let's do some recursion. And else, print, let's go spoil the fun. And so why did we put this original condition? Because we already are going to check if it's yes or no. What we want to do here is we want to set up an else so that if you put the wrong input here, users like to screw up input. It's one of the most common problems with software. And if it's not yes or no, we want a failsafe that says, hey, you put that in wrong. Please enter y or n. And then we're going to give them a chance to do it over by calling recursion again, and it'll recycle from scratch. The problem is, if I do that, and I say blah, oops, whoops, I gotta actually, once I create recursion, I have to actually call it so that it works. So I'll just put some blah in there, and I should get to that else, and it should start over. Here's a problem. This is going to go on forever and ever and ever, because there's no reason for it to stop. It'll just say, it will just keep asking me for more and more input. Please enter yes or no. Please enter yes or no. Please enter yes or no. It'll keep going and going and going. The reason why is because I got this way out here. There's nothing to slow it down to ask for input. So all this is running over and over again, but it only asked me for input once. So what I have to do is move that in here in order for this to work. So let's try again. Would you like to do recursion? I'll screw it up, and it'll say, please enter yes or no. Would you like to do recursion? Let's go with yes. And it says, yay, let's do some recursion. And just to check to make sure everything works, let's put in no. And it says spoiled the fun. So that is recursion in its most basic form. You have a possible answer that's completely wrong. So you set up a separate else condition that covers if the user didn't put in the right input. In other words, if it's not yes or no. and then you rerun the method and start from the user input. To avoid what's called an infinite loop that you saw earlier, was this recursion just running over and over and over again without stopping. You want to make sure you have your user input inside of a method. So now that we have the basics out of the way, let's look at another practical application. Remember our pick a number between 1 and 10. Well, let's say we're going to find out the reason why I called this guess. And the reason why I did that is because I'm going to guess a number between 1 and 10, and I'm going to declare a new variable number. I'm going to set that equal to random.randint between 1 and 10. And before I do that, I do have to import random. And so I got my import. I'm picking a number between 1 and 10. And so now, if that's between 1 and 10, that's a good thing. But I'm not just going to print the number is right. I'm going to ask again. I'm going to nest an if in here. And I'm going to say if, I'm going to get rid of these parentheses as well. And I'm going to say if guess equals number, then I'm going to print the number is right. So let's give that a shot. And then else, I'm going to print wrong. So now my else here is if the user screwed up and didn't get it between 1 and 10. So all I do is I type in, please enter a number. Let's say, please make it 1 through 10. Put an exclamation point to let them know I mean business. And then I'm going to make a recursive call here. So I'll just put a placeholder for that here. Problem is none of my stuff is in a method. So I'm going to go ahead and change that. I'll just tab it over really quick. And then underneath here I'll say def recursion. Now I have a method. I have to call the method. And so I have this recursive call here. Instead of that, I'm going to recall recursion. And that is going to recycle over again. So let's try this. Pick a number between 1 and 10. Let's go with 5. And the number is right. And the reason I'm going to know it's right from now on is I'm going to print the number is plus number. And I'll go 5 again. And we're going to find out what happened. The number is number. Oh, and I must use a comma there. Instead of a period, I'm going to do comma. Let's try that one more time. Let's go 5 again. Number is 5. And the number is right. Let's keep trying. Let's go with 5 again. Let us try to so now I'm getting wrong. So now it's getting something other than 5, and everything works properly. And that, my friends, is how we do recursions with conditional logic. Please let me know if you have questions.